What's in this box? Something super exciting, and we're gonna pair it with fresh pasta. So I've been blessed with some of the very best friends a person could have. And I would have said that even before this special delivery showed up on my doorstep yesterday. My awesome friend sent me this package, and inside is a fresh black truffle. And I am so excited about it. It smells amazing. I haven't even opened it. It is wrapped in a paper towel and in this plastic, but I totally know what it is just from the smell of it. And I've been keeping it in this container of rice. One of my chefs at culinary school had said at one point that if you have a truffle, anything it's near will soak up that truffle flavor. And so what I'm hoping for is truffle risotto eventually. So today we're going to make fresh pasta with a truffle butter sauce. And we first need to get to the pasta. So we're gonna put the truffle back in the fridge, and then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna make some pasta dough. I haven't made fresh pasta in a while, so I refreshed my memory by checking out Serious Eats article on making fresh pasta, which was totally informative, helpful, and I will link that below in the description. And so let's get started. The first thing we want to do is measure out about 2 cups of flour. And I'm going to try to do the method where we mix it on the countertop and not in a bowl. I'm telling you, I've not always had the best luck with this method. So we'll see how it goes today. Maybe I'll be running for a bowl, but I figure let's give it a try. All right, so the first thing we want to do is kind of build up this little well in the middle of our flour, and that's where our eggs are going to go. So we have our flour volcano here with a little crater in the middle for our eggs. And normally you would just pour the eggs in here and then start whisking the eggs and then start incorporating the flour. Because I'm not always so great at that step, I'm going to whisk in the bowl first. I have 2 whole eggs and 4 egg yolks in here. Okay. And now we're going to pour this into our well. And that just about fits. The Serious Eats recipe also calls for about a teaspoon of salt, so I'm going to add that in as well. All right, and I forgot the fork that I need, so I'm going to go get that. All right, we're back with the fork. Now the idea here is just to start adding in some flour from kind of the inside walls. Using the tines of the fork, slowly bring in the flour from inside the base of your well. Gently fold and mix the flour and the egg together. Be careful not to create a hole in your well, you'll make a pretty big mess. Over time, the mixture will thicken and you'll be able to pull in more flour more aggressively. Once you have a thick, shaggy dough ball, you can start to knead. All right. So now we have this dough that I'm really starting to feel like I can knead. It's pretty soft, but honestly, it's not very sticky anymore. Guys, that was the first time I've ever done that method without having to run for a bowl. Pretty excited about that. I think it's because I was taking my time for the camera, and normally I'm a little bit more like a bull in a china shop. So I guess the lesson here is just be careful, take it a little bit slow, and it will work for you. And also maybe whisking those egg yolks ahead of time gave me less chance of making such a huge mess. All right, so now what we're gonna do, the dough really isn't very sticky. I have a little sticky area here, so I'm going to just get a bench scraper and scrape some of that up. And kind of just get that into my dough. And then I'm just gonna knead this, and you have to knead it for like 10 minutes. So I'm gonna knead, and eventually this is going to get nice and smooth and elastic feeling. So I'm just gonna keep on kneading, and I will see you back in about 10 minutes. Hey guys, it's been about 10 minutes and I've been kneading. This is an awesome way to work out a little bit of stress and anxiety. It would also be an awesome thing to have your kids come and help with while you're making the fresh pasta. It's kind of like playing with Play-Doh. So this pasta dough started out feeling very light and fluffy, very pillowy, and slightly tacky, slightly sticky. It now feels a little bit more, let's say, rubbery, elastic, and maybe a little bit like silly putty. It's also very dry. It's not really sticking to my hands at all. When I was kneading this earlier on, I noticed that every once in a while my hands would get just a little bit sticky with dough. So I would just dip them in the flour and keep kneading, and that's all it took. So you can see that we didn't even use probably close to a half a cup in the flour. And that's because when you're making something like a pasta, really, you're not looking for an exact measurement because the temperature and humidity of your kitchen is going to play a role in the ingredients you use. So it's pretty dry in the kitchen, don't need all this extra dry flour, so we didn't use as much. And I think that's why this sort of counter method is so good. If you just dumped everything in a bowl, you would have just used the full 2 cups, and you might have had a dough that was just way too dry. So I would say if you can, use this trick where you whisk the eggs ahead of time and then just be very slow mixing into the well. So now this has to rest for about an hour, and what that's going to do is allow the flour to hydrate, so all that liquid, all that moisture from the eggs will be absorbed by the flour, and will also sort of allow our gluten to rest, making it easier to roll out. So I'm going to wrap this in plastic and just set it on my counter for an hour, and then we'll come back and roll out our pasta dough. We're back. It's been an hour and our dough has been resting and hydrating and the glutens have been relaxed. So the next step is that we're going to start rolling out our pasta dough. I have my pasta attachment for my KitchenAid attached. You could do this with a hand crank machine as well. And it is on its thickest, widest setting. We're gonna cut our dough into 4 equalish parts, and we're gonna roll out one at a time. This is gonna take a few steps, so I'm gonna show you with one piece of dough how this works. This is pretty soft dough. Okay, so we're gonna just wrap the rest of our dough up to keep it moist. And I also have over here a little station where I put a piece of parchment paper down, and we have some saran wrap over it. As we roll out our strips of pasta dough, we're gonna put them here, cover them with plastic so they don't dry out for when we get to the cutting phase. So now we're going to just like roughly shape this into a rectangle, and we're going to run it through the widest setting of your pasta maker. Mine is 1. That's the widest setting. And I'm going to turn this on. And we're just going to run this through 3 times. just for an initial pass through. This is going to do a little bit more kneading. All right, once we've done 3 times through, we're going to wrap this up into like a little letter here. And then we're going to pass this through 3 times more. And after each time through, we're going to fold it again into thirds, like this little rectangle. And then fold. I almost forgot. And then pass it through again. And then fold. And then pass it through one more time. So that's the first phase. We're going to do the folding and 3 times through on the next 2 settings. So we're going to go to 2 and do the folds, pass through, and then to 3. And then we'll come back and do the next step. We ran into technical difficulties. My pasta attachment broke. There are these little plastic pieces on the bottom and they broke off, and they were helping to keep the dough smooth, so it was ripping. So guys, we're rolling this out by hand. I don't know how this is gonna go. I'm probably gonna be very tired when I'm done, but hey, you know what? If Italian grandmas can do this, so can I. So that this does not stick, I just put a very thin layer of flour down and dusted with another very thin layer. And I think what we're gonna do is just kind of do the same that we would do if it was on the roller, and just start rolling it out, folding it up, and rolling, and then getting it to where it's smooth, and it's going to be pretty thin, like you almost want to see through it. So that's what we're going to do here. Guys, this is looking really good. I thought it was going to be a total failure, but this looks great. All right, so I'm going to just put this sheet in our moisture zone. All right, we're going to cover that up. Perfect. And now we're going to work with another quarter, and I think I'm just going to do the same where I roll and fold until it feels like it's getting nice and elastic and smooth. And voila, another one. Okay, so the second one was a little bit harder because it didn't get the initial start before the KitchenAid attachment broke. So I'd probably say I rolled and folded about 10 times. And after that, you could just tell it was ready to become this nice thin sheet. So I'm going to finish our pasta. I got 2 more quarters here to go, and then we will come back and cut it. Oh, before I go and finish these off, I just want to let you know that I'm going to place this in our moisture zone, and I'm going to use a little semolina flour on top so that I can lay my second 2 over top so they don't stick. Semolina is a coarse wheat flour. It feels a little bit like a very fine cornmeal, and you've probably seen this like on the bottom of a pizza. So I'm going to go ahead and just dust the top of this and dust the top of this with our semolina. And then when I finish the other 2 quarters, I'll be able to just kind of lay those on top and we won't have stickage, which will be a very good thing. All right, now I'm gonna get back to rolling. All right, so I rolled out all our dough, and it actually was not that hard. It took about 20 minutes or so. And I did notice while rolling that there's going to come a point when you're rolling out where that dough is going to like want to fight you and get really elastic and shrink back. And I found if I just put a lot of muscle into it, it would end up rolling out just fine and not resisting my rolling. So I would say, you know, if you do this by hand, and again, it wasn't that hard. I don't think I'll actually replace my roller because I don't make fresh pasta all that much, and this was not that bad. But I do have the cutting attachment attached to my KitchenAid. I have the cutting attachment that's gonna cut out like fettuccine size pasta, so we're gonna go ahead and start there. So I'm going to take this first sheet and run it through. And there we go. We don't want it to stick, so we're gonna take some more of that semolina, and we're gonna be pretty generous with coating all the strands in the semolina. This is gonna pretty much wash off in our pasta water anyway, and that will add some nice starch to our pasta water, which we're gonna want when we're making our sauce. And that's it. We have these lovely strands of homemade, hand-rolled fettuccine. So I'm just gonna go ahead and roll these through to cut my all the fettuccine out, and we will then get to actually opening that truffle. Finally, the moment I've been waiting for. This was a project, but we now get to see our truffle. This smells so amazing. Oh my God. This is a literal dream come true. Oh my God, this is so, oh my God. This is awesome. Let's see if I can put it over here. Oh man, I'm so excited. Okay, a couple of things. Our rice smells good too. We're gonna have some good risotto someday soon. Okay, so a couple of things. I got my water boiling, I turned it down. This pasta is only gonna take 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes to cook. So I just wanted that to go ready when we wanted it. So I just put it on low, and when we need it, I'll turn it back up to high, and hopefully we'll have water boiling quickly. I have my mandolin, so I don't have one of those little truffle shavers. So I thought maybe we could use our mandolin, and I'm gonna test on a mushroom before I test this gem. Oh man, never has something so kind of ugly been so beautiful. I can't even. I'm so excited. Okay, so I just set up my mandolin. I have a little plate underneath to catch stuff, and I have it as thin as I think I can get it. And I'm going to, let me just make sure this is secure. I don't want any more difficulties today. Now that I said that, we're gonna run into something. All right, and this mushroom has its own little handguard. Oh yeah, that is paper thin, which is what I want for my truffle because I want to get as much mileage out of it as possible. So I'm gonna shave a bunch of this off for topping our pasta once it is ready. I'm like very nervous about this. Kind of getting stuck in here, so I'm gonna have to shake out my mandolin. But overall, it is working pretty good. And they are very nice and thin. So this was not a bad idea. This is going pretty well as far as today goes. All right, this looks like a good, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit more. The next thing we're gonna do for our sauce is we're gonna steep a little bit of this truffle in this butter. I have about 3 ounces of butter and I'm using Kerrygold because we're being fancy. We're gonna use some fancy butter. It is just browned, which means you just let the butter melt and let it melt down until it just starts to turn this golden brown butter. And I took it off the heat so it didn't overdo it. And I'm gonna just turn this back on low. And now we're going to shave by microplaning a little bit of this truffle into this sauce. Holy moly. This is working very well. All right. That seems like a good amount of truffle to me. I feel like this stuff is pretty potent. Get it all out. We do not want any of this to go to waste. And I don't want this to get too hot because I don't want that truffle to, I don't know, lose some of its fresh flavor. I actually don't know what I'm doing here, but this seems right. So we just have a few more ingredients. We have 2 ounces of heavy cream, about 1/3 cup of pecorino cheese, some white pepper, and some salt. Now this butter was salted and this pasta water is heavily salted, so I don't know how much salt we'll need. We'll taste along the way like you should do. All right, this is just starting to get warm. Again, I don't want it to go too hot. I don't really want to burn the truffle or anything, but I'm going to drop my pasta. If we have to take this off and put it over here, we will. But that's just warm. All right, so we're gonna drop our pasta in. This is just starting to bubble. So we'll let that go for another few seconds and then I'm gonna take it off because again, I don't want to ruin our truffle. We're just gonna let that steep here. All right, there is our timer. I'm gonna give this a taste. I think that could go for another 30 seconds or so. It does taste really good. It's not quite as thin as I wanted it to be, but it's not over the top thick either, so. I think I saved the day by just using a little muscle on that pasta dough. Timer's about to go off. Let's take another taste. Woohoo! That's good. I'm gonna move it back over to here. And then we're gonna add our pasta and coat it in this truffly goodness. A few more strands, I don't know. I work so hard, I don't wanna lose any of them. All right, so we're going to add in our cream, and I'm just gonna really slowly drizzle this in to help emulsify it with the pasta and the butter and the pasta water. And I'm just going pretty light on the cream. I want it a little bit creamy, but again, like I want that truffle to shine. This is looking super fabulous, actually. All right, I'm very excited about this. We're going to add in most of our cheese, but I'm gonna hold back about a tablespoon so that we can put some on top. I'm just gonna take that, put it over here. Oh my God, guys, this looks freaking amazing. All right, now we need to taste to see if, I don't know, I should get a fork, but. It does need a little bit of salt. Just a little sprinkle. I'm gonna do just a little bit of white pepper. Just a little sprinkle. All right. Whew, we made it. I'm super excited to eat this. Let's plate it up. All right, that is plated up beautifully. I don't know, can you see that? I've got so many things going on here. And then we're gonna sprinkle it with some of this fresh truffle we just shaved. Oh my God. That is so special, super delicious. That fresh truffle just is such a big flavor. It's the best. I'm so excited. Listen, normally I'd say I hope you make this recipe, but you know, I don't expect everyone to get a black truffle in the mail. But if you want to do something special and try something different while maybe you don't get to do your normal things and you're not spending the money on a normal like concerts or sporting events and you love to cook, hey, maybe buy yourself a truffle. I'm super psyched to continue experiment with this one and I can't wait to taste how that risotto comes out. But if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and click subscribe in that little bell icon to be alerted when I launch a new video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Now go have some fun in the kitchen.